Everybody, thanks for checking out the Chris Gethard Show podcast. It's really cool that you're checking this out.
We're about to do, I think, the dumbest show we've done in years.
His life would be trashed!
Hey, you better believe I'm trashed.
We are scrappy trash people.
What's the point of this show? I just turned it on.
We've always been with this show.
We've always been trash people. We will always be trash people.
It's true.
This doesn't feel real.
Hello! Live from my grandmother's spooky haunted basement.
Ooh.
We are the trash people. I'm Emily Pineapple.
And I'm Forrest, keeper of the Canon.
Whoa! And welcome to our show. This is the show where we talk about something in the world related to the world of Chris Gethard and his Twitch network, Planet Scum Live. Thank you for loving our clothes. Big thanks to Old Navy for having this pineapple shirt on sale. I do not believe those are costumes. It's true. Every week I use excessive foundation to cover up my pineapple stripes, and we green screen out
Absolutely.
this part.
And I do really... I'm the keeper of the Canon, and so I use a cannon.
And Jedi robes for some reason.
Monks look the same,
Monks do all look the same. So are you a canon monk?
I guess.
And today I'm especially, I'm so freaking excited for today because it is just a few days away from Halloween, the spookiest season holiday, my very favorite holiday. And so we're going to be talking to the one, to the only. That's right, it's Susie! Susie of Susie's Time, of Groovin through the movies
Of
with...
Even an android can cry.
It's our very own dear Susie, lover of movies. Susie, welcome to the show.
Hi.
We're so excited to have you in here. We're going to have sort of an open discussion about horror movies. And later in the episode, what we're going to do is put the very link to bring you to this StreamYard into the chat for you to join to give movie recommendations. That's right. We want to hear your spooky picks. Yes.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Jaden.
birthday, Jaden.
Happy birthday, Jaden. Jaden's turning
wonderful.
2.
Susie, tell us about your costume.
Yeah, Jaden's turning 2, and I'm Jaden. I'm turning 2.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. But first, before we go into a discussion about horror movies, let's do a super spooky tarot reading from the Planet Scum Tarot deck designed by our very own Stephen Premel. Happy birthday to Jaden. How old will Jaden be? I suppose this year he'll be turning 3.
Jaden, hold on. I gotta make sure everybody hears this.
Okay.
Jaden is turning 2.
Wow. Glorious. Now there can be no question.
And now it's known.
Now it is known.
Now it's canon. Jaden's turning 2.
Yep. Precisely. Let's pull our first card. This card is going to represent our theme of the week, so to speak. And will inform the rest of our cards. Our first card is... the Queen!
Ooh.
Check out that Queen! This beautiful card is based on the Empress. And it represents a person who is nurturing, who wants to help you on your journey, help you with your creations, and help you be the best version of you that you can be. Not necessarily what they want to make of themselves. No. What you want to be of yourselves. Susie, you are an aficionado of the tarot cards, correct?
We can say it. I would say I have experience that is significant and that it is a daily practice.
See, that's even more practice than I have, which is usually once a week with these cards. Though I have been writing limericks.
That's true.
Using tarot cards. And that has been fun. And they're all about cats, because I have a cat tarot deck. But tell me, when you see the Empress, when you see the Queen, what sort of comes up for you?
I don't know. I think for me, it's this idea of, like, I don't know, being able to like, provide, but also to just, like, exist in a way that is, I don't know, kind of passively confident in one's own, like, abilities, particularly towards, like, being able to care for yourself. And in turn being able to, like, put that towards others.
Wow. I love that. Sort of like the confidence in self-mothering, you know? Like feeling you are taking care of your own self as if you are a toddler. Which I would like. I'd love for someone to take care of me as if I was a toddler. Let's look at our worst case scenario of the week, knowing our theme. Here's our obstacles that are gonna get in our way this week. Oh, and what an obstacle that is!
The Toydarian.
The Toydarian! Look, my lips are the same color.
Oh, yeah.
As the Toydarian. The Toydarian, based on the devil, is a representation of our addictions, of our vices, of our thought patterns, our habits that are not helping us. They may be fun. They may be fine. Look, we can slip right out of them. Look at those chains in those titties. Look at that. But, you know, it's still our stumbling block. And our worst case scenario of the week, along with it, is, oh shit, it's the Hanged Man. Or the Law. You have an epiphany. You're seeing things from a whole new angle, but look at you. You're still tied to a tree. You're still stuck in the law. ACAB. Susie, when you see these cards, what comes up for you? What do you see? And of course, the devil and the Hanged Man.
Yeah, I think the devil, what most often comes to mind for me and how I usually, like, explain it is, like, forcing something to fruition that like doesn't need to be forced and isn't really working. I can give an example from my own life. I was hoping to have people over on Halloween to watch Halloween, but that may not be able to happen because, like, right now there's, like, a sick person in my household, and so it's, you know, just to be cautious, probably not a good idea to have people over. And that's also kind of, I don't know, I feel like the devil then leads into the Hanged Man, because in trying to force something to work and it not working, you are then made to see things in a new perspective. And the Hangman specifically is about, like, suspension, but a sort of, like, painful suspension. Like, it is not, I don't know, it's not an easy thing. And so I think maybe it's, like, that frustration from the devil, from not getting these things to work out, lead in turn to a new perspective.
So sort of like, if you follow this devil down his path too far, you're gonna get stuck even once you start realizing, oh shit, this is not working. This is not working. This has to change. Is it too late? Is it too late to change? Well, let's see. Let's look at our good part of the week. Here's the things we got going for us. Here's our boons. The things that are in our corner. Look at that.
Oh, interesting.
Retired filmmaker George Lucas, based on the card Judgment. The voice shouting down from the heavens. In a good position. I like to see this card as you have control over your story and what gets put out and who you sell it to or who steals it from you and leaves billions of dollars in its place. You get control over that, and that's pretty fucking cool. No one gets to tell you who you are.
No.
Fuck them. And here's your best case scenario. Oh!
It's not nothing.
It's not nothing! And neither are you! The Rabbi! Look at that! This is the most powerful card in this deck. The Rabbi is based on the card of the Lovers. And look at this beautiful garden. This is about knowing that you are worthwhile. Knowing that if you follow your heart and your inspiration, your garden, holy shit, is that garden gonna bloom. Holy shit, this is the best advice you're ever gonna get in your whole life. This is your gut. But like the good part of your gut, not the part of your gut that's like, just have another candy bar. Just like have it. Just like have it, you know? Just, it's sitting there. Just like, no, this is the good part of your gut that's like, I'm gonna take a shower instead. Susie, when you see these cards, and of course with our theme of this nurturing, of this self-care, what do you see?
I don't know. I feel like this is a really interesting contrast to the last pair.
Yeah.
Because where the devil is sort of like placing all your power on your desires, which is like a choice. Like the chains are loose, you can step out of that. But that's what the focus is on. Whereas like the judgment card is sort of the opposite of that. It's placing your focus on like sort of like those higher aspirations. I don't want to say higher and make them seem like better or anything like that. But I don't know, sort of like to go back to the self-care thing, sort of listening to that like, deepest voice when it comes to self-care. And I think that's also the Lovers, like that radical self-trust and almost like being able to like, I don't know, because an aspect of the Lovers is like that angel figure is there between the two lovers, and it's kind of like you have to give some up to that. And like ditto judgment, you have to kind of give some stuff up to that voice of judgment. Which again, back to the devil. The devil's all about like holding on tight.
Yeah.
This good stuff is all about sort of like being able to let go.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that interpretation of these, and I love thinking about how I've always like sort of liked how the devil card and the Lovers have and of course they aren't represented in the Rabbi, but the Lovers card also has these same two figures. But they're the Lovers. They have an angel on top of them instead of a devil chaining them. And I love that sort of difference between like people, sort of scrounging on the ground for their desires versus giving something up, putting trust into something. Look, we have even more naked people giving their trust up to that which lies within them. I think that altogether what we can sort of read this as is listen deeply to yourself, to the voice that's telling you to nurture yourself. Listen to...
And for reference, this is the Lovers card. Oh, there it goes.
The Lovers! Yes! You can see. Similar little dudes.
On my deck, it's lesbians.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Love that. And I don't know. I think that's just a really lovely thing about holding on too tight to what you think you want. Want versus need, can get you in a sticky situation. But if you listen to what you need, you'll get what you want. You can't always get what you want. Okay. Then let's look at our advice card.
Oh,
this
yeah.
card will
We
tell
haven't
us how we get from A to B. It's Wednesday. By next Wednesday, I expect all of you to be engaged in deep love with either yourself or whoever the fuck you want to be engaged in deep love with. Bosser.
Wow. What a card.
What a card.
What a card to get.
This is a really interesting card to me because it's based on the moon, which is a card that my little book of tarot, which I think is what it is actually called, and it's just like, this is your little guide. It's about mysteries. It's about meanings being hidden. It's about not really knowing where you're going. But on this one, what's really bright about it is the sun. It's a bright day out, more obviously than, of course, in this deck and a lot of other decks, it's represented as more darkness, like, you know, it's nighttime, so you can see the moon. But Bosser, of course, it's about that which makes things cooler. It really makes me, when I see it, I'm thinking that it's saying to follow this path towards something really cool. Like, use your inner sense of, like, that sounds fun, to guide you down the correct path. What do you see in this card? And, of course, in its relationship with the moon?
Yeah. I mean, I think the moon is, again, that sort of, like, really deep listening, and that sort of, like, I don't know. Yeah, just like that sort of, like, strong undercurrent of feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think in the context of the boss, or maybe I'm a little thrown off.
It's like one of the ones that I not necessarily had the most trouble with, like, sort of creating a meaning for, but it's definitely one of the ones that is the most of this deck, I think, sort of different from the original card meaning.
Yeah, because I think if you want to go to the original card, you know, it being dark is meant to be like it is this deep thing, and it's kind of like murky and a little like hard to see, and so you sort of have like your one guiding light, and that's it. And so I feel like the bosser maybe is almost like a figure that is utilizing that guiding light, that is like presenting that light, and so that sort of is reflected in how the background of the card is brighter.
Yeah.
And how it seems to be day, even though it's clearly, like, based off of the moon.
Yeah.
Because, like, this boss or figure has sort of figured out how to take that deep undercurrent and use it.
Beautiful.
I love that.
I love that. And I love that in correlation with the rest of the cards that we've pulled, because it's all about, you know, that feeling of confidence in your ability to take care of yourself, to take care of all of those little needs, to think to yourself, I'm super agitated right now. What in my environment could be contributing to this? Could I perhaps clean off my desk so that I'm not running into things every fucking second and that's making me more angry? Can I put on a sweater? Have I drunk any water? All those lovely things that we might have forgotten, along with sort of just deeply listening to your internal self, to be your own Jess. Thank you so much, Susie.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much. I love your insights, of the cards especially. Like, oh my gosh. I love your insights, and I'm so grateful. We can all be our own Jess. And now I'm really excited to talk about horror movies!
Yeah!
Hell yeah! Susie, what's been on your watch list?
Oh, man. So my watch list is, like, I'm pretty sure I just started it and then kept adding more movies, and I'm pretty sure it's over 31 at this point. I may be wrong. I don't even know if I'm going to finish all of them. I don't want to force myself to do that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about...
Oh, we just talked about that. That's the devil. That's letting go of this stuff, okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah!
Also, okay, I think, like, literally, I set up this show for people who are wimps about horror movies.
Yes!
Yes.
I
Like
want
me.
to talk with you. I want to talk with horror movie wimps. Because I consider myself, like, a horror movie, like, I don't know. I'm very interested in them.
Right.
I watch a lot of them. And so I like helping people who don't really like horror movies find ones that they can enjoy if they want to go branch out into that.
I love
I
that.
love that.
Tell me about the elements of a horror movie. Like when you think of like a horror movie that I'm going to recommend to someone or that I enjoy. What are the elements of a movie that have to exist in it for you to consider it horror? Is it slasher, blood, there has to be an undercurrent of fear and distaste, or can it be like Freddy 2, which is mostly a joke?
I'd say...
Or Jason X.
Oh, Jason X.
I don't know. I feel like there are a couple of things because I think the further you get into subgenres like slashers, the sort of less it becomes about like suspense directly, and the more it kind of becomes about just like the kills themselves rather than like, I don't know, like a sense of suspense. I feel like a lot of horror movies are characterized by a certain kind of like helplessness almost. Like, or I don't know, maybe not even helplessness. It's interesting. I've been watching horror movies from a lot of different like time periods, and by a lot of different, I mean like 1975 onwards. So I go back.
Right. I know that in the 70s, there was a big sort of home invasion style horror was the thing. Am I correct, or am I remembering my YouTube videos about horror movies?
Definitely, I don't know. I feel like 70s horror movies are kind of characterized by a lot of like paranoia. Also, yeah, I can see the comments, and I'm looking at Steven's comment, and like I genuinely, I think I mostly stick to movies that don't use any kind of assault like that. Not even as like, I mean, certainly I don't seek stuff like that out. But I really think using that as a plot point and using that as like horror is definitely like, I don't know, it's very rarely used against men or masculine people in the same way it's used against women.
Yep. Sort of like the difference between The Hills Have Eyes versus like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What are your thoughts on those movies? I'm a huge fan of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's one of the only horror movies I've ever seen. I have seen really, really few horror movies. I have listened to a lot of horror movie podcasts and watch a lot of YouTube videos about horror movies. But I've seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it has been one of the biggest influences on my filmmaking and my art. But I would never see The Hills Have Eyes because that the assault part, like that is a plot point in it, like, and that's gross.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah. I can definitely get that. I haven't seen Hills Have Eyes. I love. Oh, that's so good. I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre because I think that movie just like. And it's honestly not like people don't really die a lot on screen in that movie. Like it's I don't know, for its reputation.
It's an atmosphere.
Yeah, it's an atmosphere, but it's just so like unhinged, and it feels so like visceral and real and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That just like I don't. And also that movie's just fucking like willing to go really weird. Like the dinner scene, that movie just That scene's just so weird. Like the grandpa's like a skin husk, and he's like, "Give me the blood." So,
And essentially, I mean, most people probably know Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface, group of teens driving in car, end up at spooky house, scary chainsaw man kills them, except for our final girl who essentially is just terrified, sees people on a meat hook, is engaged in this strange family dinner, which reminds me of the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
yeah, a little bit.
And then she escapes and has this, like, her performance is crazy.
Yeah.
She sounds so terrified. What I loved about that movie was how much time they spent just going like, look at this scene we made. Look at this set we made. Look at all the weird animal bones from the ceiling. Look at this. And I'm like,
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that movie definitely helplessness sort of horror. I feel like lately there have been a lot of horror movies like I don't know, most James Wan type horror movies where it's sort of
and
like they
that's
still
Saw,
end.
of course.
Maybe not Saw as much.
I know
but
that he did Malignant, correct?
He did,
Most
yeah,
recently?
he did Malignant, which was.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of those post Conjuring, sort of give like a happy ending in a way that maybe earlier horror movies hadn't. Like it feels like they're all trying to be Poltergeist.
Ooh, tell me about Poltergeist, because this movie I thought was the most terrifying thing. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos about it, and it actually kind of seems like a fun family adventure film.
What, Poltergeist?
Yeah.
Poltergeist 1 is honestly terrifying.
Yes.
Like, I mean, it's really good, and it is like definitely like a family thing. Like it's a PG rated horror movie.
Yeah.
But it's also done by the director of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
that's the
same dude.
Okay, we got to see that movie.
Yeah, we do.
Because like the ghosts had such an interesting look to them.
Yeah.
From what I saw. So I'm like, oh, is this just like Beetlejuice or something almost?
No.
It's definitely not that wacky. It's much more like a straight up horror movie. But I feel like the big difference is like, I think some horror movies, sort of in like the same way that like a comedy is sometimes defined as a comedy by whether or not it has a happy ending. Like
like
some
Shakespeare.
horror movies, I feel like the horror at the end is whatever character completely giving in to that horror. I think like Hereditary is a good example of that.
Yes.
Of just like completely like the ending of it is like totally giving into that horror. Ditto Midsummer.
And I think that that's sort of the thing about someone like love me. Anything that is explaining the plot of a horror movie to me, I love. I adore it. I was the kid. I would go to the horror movie aisle of Blockbuster and read the backs of the DVDs and then be terrified. I was so scared of Leprechaun, literally until I accidentally saw it on TV. And then I was like, what the fuck? I was like literally afraid of the Leprechaun.
Yeah.
I was also like way into the iconography of horror movies before
Yes.
I had even seen any. Like
Yes.
as a little kid, I was like, I like the Undertaker, the wrestler, because he's spooky. And then like in wrestling games, I was like making Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger because I was like, they're just tough people who fight.
I really want to see Mandy.
And I want to see Mandy.
But
too.
I think that
Mandy's
Hereditary is a great example, and
Yeah.
Poltergeist clearly, of the feeling that you get from reading about a horror movie or looking at the things in a horror movie, entirely different from seeing that horror movie. Because I was so excited to see Hereditary, and I knew it would scare me, so I watched every single scary scene on fucking YouTube before I saw the movie. I read the whole plot. I knew the whole scene breakdown. I'm like, great, I'll be fine. I watched it. I'm still spooked.
I think there's a lot of like sweetness in something like Poltergeist.
Yeah.
And it gives you more of like a happy ending, rather than Hereditary, which does not really anchor itself in anything like that. And I feel like a lot of a lot of more modern horror movies are kind of like anchoring stuff in that sweetness.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really depends because I mean, obviously, like Hereditary and stuff is modern.
Yes.
But I also watched the movie Freaky.
Ooh, tell me.
Oh,
It's where Vince Vaughn and a teenage girl swap bodies.
What?
And Vince Vaughn is like a serial killer.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn is a serial killer, and he stabs this girl with a MacGuffin knife, and they switch bodies. And it's like so fucking, I don't know, it's so funny, and it's really cute, but it's also just like disgustingly brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Like the shop teacher is played by what's his name, Alan Ruck Cameron from Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
And he gets cut in half on a table saw, and they like show it. Like it's like disgusting. But then also like there's this whole scene where like Vince Vaughn, in order to prove to the teenage girlfriends that it's like really her, she like does this whole like cheerleading mascot dance, but it's just like Vince Vaughn, who's like 6'5" and middle-aged, just like doing this mascot dance. It's lovely. It's beautiful. But like, yeah, I noticed that one was really like very sweet and was willing to end on a pretty happy note. Ditto Haunting of Hill House, which I wasn't sure it would.
Oh, yeah.
But that show's amazing. I'm counting it as a Halloween movie because it's incredible.
Yeah.
Because I watched Midnight Mass, and that was less enjoyable for me. I saw something that said Midnight Mass is what happens when a town gets infected with audition monologues. And I think that's correct. And so I would like to may I very quickly kind of like do my audition for Midnight Mass?
Oh, please. Yes.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Old Catherine. Well, I don't think I've seen her, but there was one thing. One thing is, she was a good girl. Crazy about Elvis.
Yes!
That was incredible.
Nailed it!
Thank you.
You're hired! You got the part!
Yeah. I should have been cast.
You should have been cast. Tell me about the difference between... So we got one class of horror movie that let's call the Ari Aster category. Even though he's done 2 movies, he's an extremely new director. Let's just call it the Ari Aster area. Then we got like our James Wan movies. And then we got over here like... Well, James Wan and like Hostel and like gory, but not necessarily like funny about their gore. And then we got just the straight up horror comedies, almost like Ready or Not, which I do really want to see. I will not spoil it, but it's the one where Margot Robbie, like...
It's not Margot Robbie.
It's not Margot Robbie?
She looks a lot like Margot Robbie.
She looks
but
almost exactly like Margot Robbie. Her name's Samara Weaving. Ready or Not is pretty good. Although it's almost like Knives Out.
Ooh,
but
yeah.
It's very different to Knives Out.
You can't tell me this bitch
also,
isn't Margot Robbie.
Bye, Primals.
Bye, Primals.
It's not Margot Robbie. I swear to you.
You can't tell me that's not Margot Robbie. That's the true horror of the movie. You spend the whole time you thinking you're watching a Margot Robbie movie.
Oh, that's Hugo Weaving's daughter.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. No
That's a
wonder
fun
she's
fact.
good.
That's a neat fun fact.
So this is Ready or Not.
Yeah, this is Ready or Not.
Which I listened to the Ruined podcast with Hallie Kiefer, and it like uses, because there are things like Ash versus the Evil Dead,
Right.
which use kills as punchline, which uses the gore as, like, you really are expected to laugh. And then this middle category, in my mind, it's like Saw and, like, other things where the violence is meant to make you go, oh, like, you know, that's part of the scare. And then there's, like, Ari Aster stuff where it's like, let's talk about the concept of grief. Yeah. And you're like, I've never been more scared of anything in my life. Tell me about what your categories are. Do you agree with my conception?
I mean, I'm not going to disagree because that's your perception. I can't really disagree with that.
That's true. That's true. Is there anything that you would add to it to perhaps create a fuller idea of various categories of movies from the perspective of, like, me being like, I really have not seen many of these movies and therefore don't have the vibes, whereas like you have.
There's like funhouse scary, and then there's like real life scary.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like a false binary, because there are lots of movies that sort of blur between those.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, like funhouse scary would be something like Poltergeist. Like Poltergeist is scary, but Poltergeist is like funhouse scary. Or like I don't think any of the new It movies are that scary, but like those are like funhouse scary. It's like scary in the way that like a roller coaster is.
Yeah.
And then you have something like Hereditary, where it's like it's trying to like get into like your skull, and it's trying to just like unnerve you. Or another example, because I feel like we've been mentioning Hereditary a lot, is a movie called Possession from the 80s. It got Sam Neill in it, and like.
Can we pull up some posters?
That's what I'm doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, pull up Possession, which I watched for the first time this month, and like just, I think that movie is so like oversized. Like it's like
it looks oversized. Look at that. Look at that. We're gonna get kicked off fucking Twitch.
I'm trying to think. It's like Marriage Story.
Oh,
interesting.
It starts out like Marriage Story, and then it slowly turns into like Gone Girl for fucked up and evil women.
Oh.
And like, because it's very much rooted in this like divorce drama, but then just they're so completely just unhinged. Especially, the actress's name is Isabelle Adjani, and she's just like crazy in this movie. There's a scene where, spoilies, she has like a miscarriage while she's walking home, and it's just like 5 minutes of her just like screaming, and it is just like so like, I don't know, overwhelming and like hypnotic that it just like kind of soaks into you and like gets into you, without it even being like a sort of like conscious like, oh, I'm scared of this thing.
Huh.
That reminds me of again, Hereditary. Toni Collette's pain and her expressiveness. I wonder if a distinction between these movies could be how much trauma does the main character seem to have experienced? Like in Ash versus the Evil Dead, like, you know, in the reality of the show, like, all these really fucked up things are happening, but, like, none of the characters are, like, exceptionally concerned.
Yeah.
Like, they're not acting like, oh my god, I'm so traumatized and I'm feeling all this grief. They're just kind of like, all right, I guess we need to fight another day.
I've noticed a lot of horror movies lately refusing to commit to the supernatural part of their premise.
Yeah.
Where it's like you think it's gonna be something like supernatural, and then they're just like, but it was people the whole time. I'm like, fuck you. Give me ghosts.
They pull off the rubber mask, and underneath was the old lighthouse keeper.
Yeah. I watched this movie last night called Housebound, which is definitely a good, if anyone out there is really into horror comedies, like that one's like, mwah. But it is just like, it's definitely not supernatural, and that bummed me out, because I wanted ghosts, damn it.
I love ghosts.
That looks really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's very funny, and like, I don't know, I feel like I saw some YouTube essay that was like, modern horror comedies split the comedy and the horror. And this movie definitely does not. Like, it's very much like, the stuff that's scary is also the stuff that's funny, and it's just like this very weird mix of emotions.
I love that. I love when it's all mixed together much more than when it's all very distinct and separate, because it feels like you're, I don't know, playing to the strengths of both genres when you bundle it together, as opposed to just like, well, we're doing it, but like two halves of the movie, two different things.
So why don't we at this point
Yeah.
get that StreamYard link? We're going to throw it into the chat, and if we recognize you, we're going to let you in. And you can either give a recommendation of a horror movie or ask for a recommendation for a horror movie from our great recommendation tricks. Recommend tricks. I just love using tricks at the end of things. Susie. So Susie, tell me. I'm a human who loved Texas Chainsaw Massacre, will probably never watch it again.
Yeah.
Loved Hereditary, will definitely never watch that again.
Sure.
And loved Ash versus the Evil Dead. I will not watch a movie if I know that, like, it's a drama. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about your fucking emotional drama or your romances. Unless it's, like, a funny romance and not a romantic comedy. I mean, it's a comedy movie that happens to have a romance, so they don't spend much time on it.
And to be clear, you're specifically saying Ash versus Evil Dead because you haven't seen the Evil Dead movies. It's not that you've seen them and didn't like them.
Yes, I have not
it's just you haven't seen
the Evil Dead movies.
Yeah.
I don't think that I would enjoy the first one
I don't
as
think you
much.
would either, especially because
it's a
of
little
the assault
slower.
thing with
There's
the tree.
definitely fucked up parts that Sam Raimi has said he would not put into it nowadays.
Yeah, because that's the...
Yeah. Evil Dead 2 is the better version of Evil Dead 1.
I agree.
That's what I've
And it's
heard.
kind of mislabeled as a sequel, because it's not. They redo Evil Dead 1 in, like, the first 20 minutes, and then the next hour 5 is, like, just all new shit.
Yeah. It's where, like, the current conception of what Evil Dead is starts. Because Evil Dead 1 is its own thing. You've seen the musical, though.
I have seen the musical, and the musical was fire. If you have the chance to see the Evil Dead musical, I had no idea. They handed out big plastic sheets to the front rows. They're like, you're going to need this. And I'm like, why? Why would people need that? I had no idea what it was. And it's just like, here's the blood hose. And I'm like, I love it. Tell me, what horror movie
you also liked In Fabric.
I watch? I loved In Fabric. In Fabric is a very sort of art house piece that appears to be vignettes that are all connected by a red dress that passes into different people's hands, and varying horrifying things happen to these people, and there's a very strange mannequin scene. But tell me, Susie, what should I watch?
Okay. I'll give you a couple options here.
Okay.
First, I would like to again recommend Freaky.
Yes.
I feel like that one's probably like, I don't know. I think it could have done a little more to mix the comedy and the horror, but I still think it's like really strong. And like
I forgot who Vince Vaughn was.
yeah.
Sorry, until I saw this, I thought it was Vin Diesel, and I was like,
No.
"That's strange." He's not.
No, it's Vince Vaughn. Also, they have a gag where body swapped Vince Vaughn has a better sense of style than the actual teenage girl. And she's just like, "What the fuck? He gave me a makeover."
Oh, that's really good.
That sounds fantastic.
I would also recommend this one. Kind of rides the line between horror and more just like suspense, I guess. But it's a movie called Come to Daddy.
Ooh.
It stars Elijah Wood
Ooh.
with
Frodo
a
himself.
very silly little mustache. And it's just it's so weird. Like, it's so fucked up and so weird.
Y'all just wait. Look at that! Look at his
Look at
weird
that mustache.
mustache!
Like, it's brutal, but also, like, it's like Elijah Wood looks like that. It's not super scary.
Weird
Like, it's not
tattoo.
super scary. It's just, like, fucked up and really weird and also kind of silly.
What is the ratio? So here's something that gets me about horror movies. And this has gotten me since I was a kid. How many, I suppose I would call it a splash page. Like horror splash page moments or images. So like in an otherwise not scary movie, if there's perhaps like The Portrait of Dorian Gray. That Portrait of Dorian Gray scared the fuck out of me. The living fuck out of me. And it's in the Chicago Museum, at least it was, and then I turned a corner and like I hadn't seen the movie in years, and then I saw it staring at me and I screamed. Like I was like, sense memory. But also with like for example, Hereditary, that final image of a certain, not to give it away, but there is a satanic looking tableau created. What is our ratio of horror splash pages in Come to Daddy?
I'd say
Spooky as fuck. Look at Toni Collette being give her all the roles. Why doesn't she get all of the roles?
I would say Come to Daddy has like one big scene that they're like, oh, this is where we get fucked up. But then like I don't know, then I feel like the rest of it is like more weird, or at least like not especially or novelly brutal. Yeah, and a lot of it just kind of like relies on like I guess like tension and expectations more than necessarily like showing you a bunch of stuff. But they do definitely like there's a couple things where it's like, ooh,
Like,
I also wanted to recommend, there's a movie called Behind the Mask.
Ooh.
It's called Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. And it's presented as a documentary about a guy who's training to be a serial killer.
I have heard about this movie. We have watched a video about it. Tell me your thoughts on it. Tell me everything.
I think it's very good. I think it's definitely like it's one of those movies that's very obviously clever. But like
I just listened to a podcast about The Legend of Hell House. Never mind, I didn't. I listened to The House of the Devil.
Oh, I do love House of the Devil.
Sorry. Yeah, you like it? It seems like a very atmospheric movie. Because, like, general plot, like, woman goes to, like, babysit.
Yeah.
but actually, of course, like, it's devil worshippers and a spooky thing is happening and they are trying to do what satanic cults do, which is bring the devil into the world.
Yeah, there is definitely. I will warn anybody who wants to watch that one. It kind of toes the line of assault or not. They don't show anything, and it doesn't
imply heavily. It didn't seem.
It's there's an unwanted pregnancy, let's say, that is forced upon the person through non-sexual means.
I see.
Yeah.
So it is still kind of
we're putting the devil baby in you.
Yeah, but it's not like an actual sort of like assault.
We have with us. We have another guest popping in for Movie Rex. Welcome to the stream, the Argyle. Welcome, LG, to the stream. Tell us, are you here to recommend or for recommendations?
I am here to recommend because I have gotten so many recommendations already that I fear I will not watch them all. But I have taken notes.
Also, go Bruins. I too am a UCLA.
I'm so sorry. Sorry. This is a Boston Bruins shirt. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I was not into the sports anyways.
No, I mean anybody who is into sports does not like this shirt, I'm sure.
They can all suck it.
I'm here carving.
Oh my gosh, show us. Show us.
Look at
wrong person.
Is that a squash?
It is. Oh, you know what? Primal told me to look up the first jack-o'-lantern in Ireland, so I have to do that.
Yes.
Because it was a gourd. So I'm not that far off.
No.
That is an incredible job you have done. Show me the tool you have been using to hollow that out. Yes.
Just
wow.
One of those, but also
precision work.
I have spoons that I use for measuring out weed.
Oh hell yeah!
That are just like tiny, like
perfect.
I think they're supposed to be for like people who work in labs.
Yeah. My cousin who works in labs and also weed and drugs has them, so it could be from any of those things.
I'm a scientist.
That's the fucking thing. My favorite people to talk to about drugs are scientists.
I am not a scientist. You are correct, though. I wish that I knew more hard science people.
Well, it's okay, because you're a scientist of horror movies here with us. Give us your recommendations.
I was trying to think of things. Okay, we talked about Aliens in the chat, which I think is sort of a...
is it a horror movie? Let's get that.
Okay, that's a great question. I want to ask Susie, because there's Aliens and Alien, and people have strong feelings on... So, Susie, what do you think? Is Aliens... So Alien
I've seen
2,
both
is it
of
a horror
these,
movie?
actually.
I feel like Alien seems more like an action movie with scares. And I'm basing that mostly on how many people live. I feel like Alien 1 is a haunted house movie in space that just happens to have like one final girl. Whereas like Aliens, and I have not seen Aliens.
It's
want to make that clear.
It seems Cameron.
It seems much more action heavy than the first one. It seems like they are much more able to fight back, and that kind of takes away the scariness from the first one.
That's a great assessment. I think that probably splits why I can't watch one without the other. It's one of the only. My dog's name is Ripley, so I have to like full. Yeah. Okay.
What a good name.
Yeah.
That is a good name for a dog.
Great name.
She's so sweet. Okay, Hush. This is one that I definitely is gotta be horror. It's like slasher. It's Susie, you're nodding. Have you seen Hush?
Yeah, I've seen Hush.
Oh, it's so cool. Okay,
what is this movie? Tell me.
A woman who is I think deaf, is home alone in her house in the woods, and there's a serial killer in a creepy mask who figures out, oh, this person is deaf. I can sneak up on them. like very easily, or so he thinks. So I think it was a really, I don't know, I love it. I loved it. I thought it was a really cool twist. And I believe the lead actress is, I believe, deaf herself. I can't remember. I should have looked this up before I agreed to. No, she's not. Oh, well then maybe I better rewatch it. But it was still, I loved it. I don't know. My sign is I've lost it because I haven't used it. I used to work with folks who used adaptive sign, so I would just,
oh cool,
whatever theirs was. Yeah. So I don't even know if I would. I did not pick up on that. Okay, well, I'm still gonna rewatch it. I have to.
Hell yeah.
It's a great movie. Like I remember watching it and really enjoying it. But yeah, no, she's not actually deaf. It's if you've seen Haunting of Hill House,
is she the woman? Is she the main?
She's the gloves one, the lesbian.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, that's her. Same actress.
Oh my gosh, I am just now putting that together when somebody said Mike Flanagan, the comment came up. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. She is Mike Flanagan's wife.
Okay, the cheese factor. Yeah. I understand where the cheese factor, it does have a little bit of that, but I thought it was very cool. And it was on Netflix a few years ago, so hopefully it still is. Okay, my last one is The Thing. Everybody watch The Thing.
Oh, The Thing is
masculinity.
Classic. Is The Thing a horror movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
body
think so?
Horror for sure, at least, right?
I suppose, yeah, body horror. I think that my brain is like, was Emily spooked? And for some reason, The Thing didn't spook me. And I think that's because it's aliens. And I had already read At the Mountains of Madness. Like, I'm at the point where I can read H.P. Lovecraft and not get scared. Which is crazy, given that Ray Bradbury used to give me nightmares.
I live in Rhode Island, so we have Lovecraft everything. Yeah, I think he's buried here. We've got like all of our
it when
graffiti.
We celebrate.
It has like Cthulhu
on it.
Wild
racists.
Oh yeah. There's
Too racist for the 20s, Lovecraft.
Yeah.
But you know what? His ideas are good, and they're ours now.
Was this pointing out you've seen a lot of horror?
I have seen a lot of horror movies. I think that my brain is like a lot of them are action or sci-fi. Whereas like Event Horizon, that's like horror. I've not seen Event Horizon.
It's sci-fi too.
But it's like more like horror because of the tableaus.
Oh, I see.
You know?
It's hell. It's
hell, yeah.
You don't get more, I don't know.
Yeah.
I should go finish carving another little, I don't know, secret butthole star thing.
Love it.
I'm gonna submit it to that Instagram. Thank you for letting me come on. Thank you, Susie, for all of the recommendations all night.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing about Hush with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're excited to see your thing.
Yeah.
Yay! And again, if anyone wants a recommendation or to recommend, the link is in that post. And if we recognize you, so use a name that we would know when signing in, we're going to let you in. And if we don't, it's because we're not sure who you are and we're not letting some kind of fucking rando on here.
I would like to read a line from a Tumblr post about The Thing.
Ooh.
The secret weapon that could have successfully circumvented The Thing was the time these men should have spent intimately exploring each other's bodies.
Would have never happened to a gay crew.
Would have never happened.
That's why we need more queers in science. It's true. Hellraiser Pinhead. Ooh. I have listened to many podcasts about this because and watched many videos because was one of the most iconic horror images in the 90s. I feel like I saw the image of Pinhead everywhere and I had no idea what the fuck his deal was.
It was definitely one of the VHS tapes that spooked me.
For sure.
Because it's like, what's his deal? And it's like me as a child reading the back of that, like, there's no way I could have comprehended that it was about sex.
No.
No fucking way. Have you seen this movie, Susie?
No.
Do you have any desire to?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually assigned this movie for a class.
Oh.
But I think we could watch something else that week, and so I think I picked the other thing. For whatever reason. But like I am interested in watching Hellraiser. I don't know. I think I've been turned away from it for so long, mostly because of like the like Flesh Man. Yeah. That shit freaks me out.
Oh yeah.
And so I think like that alone has been enough.
The tableaus.
To where I'm like, I don't wanna do that. Which
right?
is so funny because I'll watch like I'm just like la di da di da, time to watch Antichrist, and then
Antichrist fucking spooked me. I did not watch Antichrist.
You haven't even seen the movie.
I have not seen Antichrist. This movie, it's what is the name of Lars Van Trier's Antichrist. Of course I see this and I'm like, I need to know what this is. I need to know what this is and what's it about. It's so enigmatic, all these images.
I think even the poster, I don't know if I can put it on.
And Jesus Christ, just watching, it's a very... Tell me about Antichrist. Tell me about your experience with Antichrist and Lars Van Trier movies.
Yeah.
Also racist, this one?
Lars or the movie?
Or the Pinhead one. Because that one does have racist qualities.
I can absolutely believe Lars is racist. I want to be clear.
Okay.
Lars von Trier is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, Lars von Trier is a bad person.
Yeah, he's not.
And I do not intend to
gross.
necessarily recommend Antichrist to anyone.
Yeah.
I think that's a movie that you watch if you decide you want to watch it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I took a body horror film class, and we watched Antichrist in that class, during which the teacher gave us other options. She did not force us all to watch Antichrist.
That would be
weird.
terrible.
Yeah, that would be awful.
She gave plenty of options. We were required to read articles contextualizing and explaining what happens. And I think that helped a lot, because I think if I had just walked into that blind, I don't know what I would have thought. I also think that movie, I feel like I probably got something out of that movie that Lars von Trier did not. And I think that's fine. I think
the movie's essentially a to contextualize it for everyone, psychologist's wife has breakdown after death of child, takes her to this random cabin in the woods instead of, giving her psychological aid. A lot of creepy shit ensues in which we are unsure if that woman is insane, if she was hurting the child. A fox talks to him at one point.
Yeah.
It's a lot of just creepy fucking tableaus, and I use one of the sounds on my soundboard of a fox eating its own guts saying chaos reigns.
Oh, it's that fox.
It's that fox.
I thought it was the Green Knight fox.
Yeah, it's a little gaslighting is a major plot point. A lot of like nature versus science shit.
Well, it's a lot of like, it's a lot about perceptions of femininity.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot about perceptions of femininity, and I think something that's really telling in the movie is that, like, Charlotte Gainsbourg doesn't really go, like, full berserk until she is required to place herself into the mindset of, like, a man. And I think that's very telling, because I feel like that movie is a lot about how specifically cisgender hetero white men can use women in their personal relationships and essentially exploit them in a way that reinforces this kind of like sexist self-hatred. And I don't know if Lars von Trier is aware that he's self-owning that hard. I don't know if he's aware that what he's saying is, I'm so self-absorbed that I can't see the damage I'm doing. And this is clearly a systemic issue based on the final image. I don't think he's conscious enough of that. And so instead he's like, oh wow, oh, women can be evil. And it's like, she's only thinking that when she's told to think like a man. Yep. Literally. That's where it starts. So, yeah.
I love that. And I love that read of it, too. I like that a lot better. How he perceives nature, that guy who plays all the really evil people.
Willem Dafoe.
I was like, Green Goblin?
Yeah.
Because, like, Green Goblin keeps looking at nature and seeing horrifying images of decay. Again, tableaus. Yeah. And I love me a tableau. It scares the fuck out of me. But again, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's tableaus. He keeps seeing in nature all of these fucked up things, like birds dying and like a fox like eating itself, like woo, spooky. Whereas his wife didn't necessarily see that. It's so interesting. Tell me, do you think that is something that you have seen in other horror movies? Are there any other movies where you're like, that director is owning himself? Or I feel like they're saying that X is scary, but I'm getting a totally different reading from this movie than other people might. Gaspar Noé?
Okay, I haven't seen any of his movies, but he's a French director.
Mm-hmm. Did he do That Which Keeps You Alive? That Which Helps You Survive?
I don't know. He did Climax.
Oh.
I'm trying to think. Movies where they think something's scary.
He didn't do the one you're thinking.
Oh, okay.
Crash.
Yes.
Crash is a big one. I feel like a bunch of people are just like, oh my god, what these car crash fetishes? It's horrifying. And then I'm just sitting there just like, hell yeah, James Spader. You joined that polycule. But then, like, yeah. I'll go on, like, I don't know, I've been on, like, the Criterion subreddit, and all these people, like, Crash shook me to my core. And I'm just like,
Crash
whatever,
is a spooky movie, and of course we're not talking about that lame one about racism.
No, I'm not talking about
racist than it otherwise would have been.
Yeah, no, oh god, yeah, no, I am not talking about the Oscar-winning Crash that is hot ass.
They showed that to us in high school to be like, look,
really?
Let's think about diversity and race. Like, it came from a good place. Like, my school was trying to teach a bunch of privileged white kids, like, racism exists. But it kind of taught us the wrong message.
Here's the thing, is, like, that's what those movies are for, is every couple of years, a movie by a white person comes along that tries to just be like, racism exists, and we can get past it. And they ultimately say nothing, and they all win Best Picture. Yep. It happened to Driving Miss Daisy. It happened to Crash. It happened to Green Book.
Yeah.
Oh, Green Book.
So we're talking about the good Crash, where they fuck in cars.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so funny. This movie was banned because, like, they were so worried. Yes, it was banned in the United Kingdom. Or I don't know if it was outright banned, but there were definitely people who were like, we must ban it. Because what if the teens try and imitate this?
The teens will start fucking in cars, but the cars are moving.
The teens love imitating Cronenberg movies. They've done so many biological video games.
I'm like obsessed with Cronenberg.
Yeah, it is Cronenberg.
I'm really into him.
It feels a lot like a spiritual successor to Videodrome. I feel like they approach a lot of the same issues, but in like a very, I don't know, I feel like Crash is a lot more spiritual. Mm-hmm. In a like less body horror sci-fi than Videodrome. Oh hell yeah,
that's great.
But also, I would like to shout out
20.
the DVD commentary of Crash they talk about filming the car scenes like on the streets of Toronto. Mm-hmm. And so like they were having sex in a moving car at one point on one side of the highway. And then there was real traffic on the other side of the highway. Just all driving by, just being like, what the fuck? I would love to meet one of the people who saw that. It's just like, well, I was driving home from work and I was like, are they having sex?
There are all these cameras, but they're also, like, was it the news? Like, what's happening?
I love the idea that one of them sees Crash and is just like, oh.
You know,
okay.
I saw something just like this. I think it's real.
Is this based on a true story?
Also, I rewatched Donnie Darko. That's a great Halloween movie.
Yes.
It was the theatrical cut, not the director's cut. And I was like, wow, there's so little in this movie.
Yes.
Because of just like, yeah.
Yeah, tell me about Donnie Darko. Of course, the director of your other movie that you recommend and was so fantastic.
Southland Tales.
Southland Tales. This person loves, I mean, it almost reminds me of like David Lynch, but not David Lynch. Who's
if
just
David Lynch stopped to explain himself every 5 seconds.
Right? Yeah. If he like gave a fuck and also was way less creepy. Like But I loved it because I like watched it. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. I did a bunch of Googling and then was like, I know exactly what's going on and this is brilliant. Tell me about your experience with Donnie Darko.
Also, Richard Kelly isn't making an NFT.
Okay. I love Southland Tales. I will say
it's bizarre.
Tim, to your point, the theatrical cut of Southland Tales is kind of a slog. The Cons cut moves way better, but I think that movie's just so batshit that I love it. It also doesn't make sense. And I think it was funny going from Southland Tales to Donnie Darko, because Southland Tales feels like he tried to put 8 movies into one movie. But then like Donnie Darko is just one movie. Mm-hmm. And I think that was fascinating. Because like, I don't know, it's definitely a much tighter and more consistent movie. Yeah, I don't know. I'm so fascinated by just that man's whole career. Just whatever the hell is up with him.
That would be awesome for Blank Chat to talk about him. Because essentially what he does is he'll like create a world, at least with Donnie Darko, there is a world with varying sci-fi rules in place. Mm-hmm. And much like Hereditary, we are then seeing through the eyes of a person who does not necessarily know those rules. Mm-hmm. Who is just experiencing them the way that we all truly are. You know, we're walking around. I don't know. I got C's in physics in the same fucking class. Same fucking book, same fucking material, and I studied so fucking hard. And I got C's. I don't know how the world works. Sorry, I'm still salty. But would you consider Donnie Darko a horror movie?
I wouldn't really consider it a horror movie, but I would consider it a Halloween movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
One, because I consider it a Halloween movie like a Christmas movie is a Christmas movie. Because it's set around Halloween, and I feel like it's definitely going for that kind of like eerie sort of spirit. And I feel like that's definitely, it's much more about the atmosphere of Halloween than it is about being like a scary movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
That is a good point. And I do love that atmosphere. Susie, we have but moments left before we will need to say adieu to all of you until, of course, the box show and then the after party. if you had like a thesis statement of like, this is what I, Susie, believe makes an excellent horror movie. Like, these are the elements that, like, I, Susie, love to see in my horror movies and want to see in more movies.
Practical effects.
Yes.
I feel like that's a big one. But also just like, I don't know. I think moving away from the idea that scary images are scary, and moving more towards like, I don't know, leaving room for the unknown, and leaving room to just like live with mystery. I watched The Lighthouse recently.
Yes.
I watched The Lighthouse recently with some people, and this person I was watching it with was just like, so, like, what's real and what's imaginary? It doesn't matter.
No. It's the Lighthouse.
Because you're being presented that reality regardless.
Yeah.
And that's the only one you're gonna see. It's the only one you're gonna experience. And so, I think I would like to see more horror movies willing to keep the mystery and not explain that much. And just sort of let that linger and have that fuel some scary stuff.
I love that. I both love it and I hate it. I love it because, let it be supernatural. Just let it be fucking ghosts. And on the word of let it be fucking ghosts, I feel like whenever it should be ghosts and it isn't, they're like, it's because someone had a mental illness. Oh, aren't we clever? There's just that, like, let's just continue to stigmatize a whole community. I think that that's the best thing we can do as horror writers. Yes! Let be ghosts.
But yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Emily.
Oh, thank you. Yes, let the ghosts fuck. Susie, if we're gonna only watch one horror movie this spooky season, what is it? And this is for a person who says, yes, I would like to watch a spooky movie of any particular type. Like, no one's like, oh, I can't watch beheadings. I'm not a gore person. I'm not a suspense person. Just the movie that you're like, watch this. If you're ready to watch it, watch it.
If you're willing to put the time in, The Wailing.
Oh, what?
It's a South Korean movie. It's a dumb cop comedy. That's also a zombie movie. That's also a scary disease movie. That's also an outsider allegory. That's also a creepy kid movie. And it is like, just so, like, I don't know. That sounds like a mess, and it's not. It's incredible. It is also 2.5 hours. So, if you're not trying to spend the full 2.5 hours, and you're just like, I want something that's gonna get on down. I want something that's gonna give me some frights, some shivers. You know what?
I love your big stuffy creature, by the way. Yeah. I cannot make out what creature, but I like it.
The old standby, The Fog.
Oh,
The Fog!
Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't know. I feel like that's a perfect Halloween movie. It's like just scary enough to be really engaging, and like just not scary enough to be like more like fun, eerie Halloween, and less like rattle your soul Halloween.
Hell yeah. Susie, thank you so much for joining us. The Argyle, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to see your little squash dude. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined us today and everything that you've shared about movies and your own experiences with horror movies. There were many comments that we didn't bring up that I read and that I thought were fantastic and super interesting. love you all so dearly. We're going to see you at the box show. We're going to see you for the after party. Susie, give us your plugs.
I will be doing this same concept, discussing horror movies, giving recommendations tomorrow night in K-Stum. I think at like 6 p.m. maybe? 6 p.m. Central, sometime around there.
Yeah, I think it's
I don't
6
know.
Central.
We'll talk about it in the after show. I'll post plugs. Also, Susie's time tonight.
Woo! Yes!
That's about it.
Hell yes! Thank you so much, Susie. Our plug is Radio Free Multiverse. That's right. It's this Friday. And it's going to be featuring, look at all those buddies. Look at all your friends. Look at all your friends that are going to come, I suppose, essentially trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
Coming by to trick-or-treat. Come check out our Instagram to see my wild fucking costume I'm putting together. That's right, it's midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific.
This Friday at RadioFreeMultiverse.com.
What other plugs have we got?
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Dear friends, we'll see you later.
Yeah.
Good night and good
night and
con.